Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rob Has a Podcast. I'm your host, Taryn Armstrong, and we are here tonight to recap this night's episode, Eviction episode of Big Brother Canada 7. And with me to recap this night's Eviction episode of Big Brother Canada 7 is Rob Sesternino. How you doing, Rob?
I'm back, baby.
He's back.
I'm back. Things are heating up.
I hope you've got some gold for us. You've been saving it up.
I am excited to talk about where we're at. I think it's been 2 or 3 weeks since I got to talk about Big Brother Canada, but excited. The good news is not a lot has changed.
Not a whole lot to keep track
So
of.
I'm able to jump right back in.
Yes.
It's as if you never left.
Yes. Also with us tonight, you heard her. It's Melissa Denny. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm great. I'm good. I'm sad to see Sam go, but I'm excited to see what the new week has in store for us.
All right. Finally, we also have, of course, Brent. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Taryn. How are you doing?
Is that a new haircut you've got there?
It is. I traveled a whole hour and a half to get my hair cut because no one in this frickin' city knows how to cut a guy's hair, I tell you.
Yeah, I've got to cut my hair too. All right, so we are here to talk, as I said, about tonight's eviction episode of Big Brother Canada 7. We saw Sam leave the house in dramatic fashion. Big dramatic kiss. Before she leaves. Rob, if you were to rate this this kiss out of 10, what would you give it?
Pretty iconic, that these showmances, if you're going to go out, I think that it would have been nice to, what is that, like officer and a gentleman style for, I think that Adam could have carried Sam up the stairs. They call that pulling a kiki. And then that would have been nice to set up the kiss. But I'll say 8 out of 10.
If I told you that they practiced this.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
2 out of 10 then.
Also, big news, everyone. Arissa having her third child.
Yay!
Whoa!
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the real news of tonight.
Right?
A lot of kids.
Yes.
Big news.
Good for her. Congratulations.
Well, in Big Brother, they always tell you to expect the unexpected. So happy to hear about Arissa's expecting.
Yes. I feel like tonight was all about love. They focused a lot on Sam and Adam. Arissa's having a baby.
A lot on love.
Yeah.
They had that whole montage where we had to relive the Saddam romance.
Yeah, I never would have thought that I'd watch a Canadian reality TV show where people were just chanting Saddam, Saddam, Saddam,
Saddam.
Like what has happened to me?
Saddam.
Saddam.
So yes, we saw Sam leave here with a 5-1 vote. Adam was the one person to vote to keep her in the house. We then got she came out to be interviewed by Arissa, and we got some interesting goodbye messages for Sam as well that I was very curious to see, where all the guys were doing their little pretty boys
so
thing.
dumb.
It looked
So
terrible.
classic.
They do it so slowly too. I feel like they say like whatever funny line or whatever they think they're gonna say, and then they're like, it's just like, okay, that's so stupid. Stop it. Like if you're God, I just hate it. It's not even like a cool thing to do anyway. So then to just like tag it on the end, like as if it's like a punchline for whatever. It's so stupid. I hate it.
Well, especially because Sam has basically known about this alliance for weeks now. And so I don't know if they realized that, but if they were looking for like wait a minute, they just all did the same hand signal. Is something going on, Arissa? That's definitely not what they got. Sam was just like, yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Good job,
she
guys.
knew about it, and she could have done something about it, and she still decided to do nothing about it, Taryn. That's the most disappointing part about this. And then here we have the next week, Cory, and she becomes HOH. And at the end of the day, the only 2 women that are left in the house besides Cory are the ones who are sitting on the block. You would think that maybe something would go off in their heads, but nothing really has.
Well, Brent, Cory is trusting her gut.
Yeah, her gut's named Anthony. I think it was Kirsten who said that online.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. It's really frustrating. We'll say this, that I'm glad that Anthony's leaning into the villain role a little bit. I think it actually becomes him, and I think that may actually help him in the end. Because if you like he has a little bit of I don't know, like corniness to himself that it's not a very intimidating villain. So I do feel like that maybe in the end will help him if he can laugh a little bit along the way. I don't know how he wants to play this, but I felt like this was okay. Maybe
Right.
I don't know. Melissa, how did you feel about it?
It just depends. I mean, if he goes more of like the Dr. Will style villain, where I felt like he kind of was like that for Sam's message. I mean, at least she took it that way, where it was kind of like, oh, he's crying and then laughing, and she's like laughing along. If it's that sort of thing, then maybe it could go well. But I feel like I don't know if people are going to take that sort of goodbye message well, where it's like, haha, gotcha, bye, see you never. Those aren't really great. And that's not good for jury management.
That was like a full Rick Devens, what he did.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brent. I don't mean to bring him up.
Like, no.
Yeah, I mean, it was very interesting the different methods that we saw for basically the jury management from the Pretty Boys, where Dane was basically like, hey, I respect you. That's why, I had this thing with Adam, and it's been great playing against you. I love you. He had a good relationship with her in the house, apart from the fact that they were coming after each other. Mark, on the other hand, was like, hey, he really kind of like put on he threw it on there, like, hey, I think you're the best player in the house, but I've got to be the best player in the house, so you had to go. And then Anthony,
will say, let's stop right there with Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
I felt like he did a really good job, Mark. I also felt like Dane did a really good job. I will say that Mark's is predicated on the fact that he doesn't say that to anybody else. Like, he can't say to anybody else in the goodbye message, you are my biggest competition, and I had to get you out of the game, because then people will talk and it'll fall flat. But I do feel like if he just says this to Sam, I feel like this would probably work in the end.
Well, especially because usually the first person out is like the jury foreperson and kind of can control the narrative of the jury sometimes. So if Sam is full on like Mark should win besides Adam, then that could be good for him for sure.
Yes, and then of course Anthony just does the fake crying that turns to evil laughter, and I don't know if I have the same opinion, Brent, that I feel like this is maybe not the greatest sign for Anthony's jury management. We've talked about how great Anthony is at the game, but his one like real issue is that he doesn't know the game very well, and he's done very well in the game despite that. But I do feel like maybe this is his ignorance showing, where he doesn't know a lot about jury management. I don't know if he even finished a full season, so I don't think he truly understands what it means to manage a jury.
But he was authentic, though. That's the thing. I really feel like authenticity can get you a long way. And I don't mean you're looking at going, obviously he wasn't authentic with the beginning part of it, but he was like, you know what, I'm gonna have a little fun with you, and I'm gonna like kick you when you're down a little bit. I know that's not great jury management, but it was authentic to him. And at the end of the day, that may be worth more than Mark kissing her ass and saying, oh, well, you were my biggest competition, so I had to get you out, when it feels maybe a little bit fake. I do feel like there's something to be, I've talked about this before, your authenticity is something that cannot be replicated, and you either have it or you don't. And I do feel like Anthony, for better or for worse, has it with these messages, and anybody who talks to him in the house. He's rough around the edges, but he's their guy. I do feel like in the end he'll win if he gets there.
Well, and that is good to know, and certainly Sam seemed to take this very well. She was like, "Oh, what a funny joke Anthony just pulled on me in that goodbye message." But I do worry that if he tries this with other people, I don't know if it'll go over as well. I think if this is his general attitude, I am a little bit worried about his jury management moving forward, because this does seem a little bit brazen, especially in the current zeitgeist of bitter juries. So I don't know. It's something that I would be worried about, Rob.
I feel like with the goodbye messages, I think that maybe we are, putting too much emphasis on this, at least for this particular vote. I think that where the goodbye messages are important, where we saw in Big Brother 19, where it's like, hey, there was this alliance that you thought you and I were best friends, but there's a big secret I need to reveal, and I need to tell you this. And other than that, I don't really know how many, other than was it Cindy or was it Karen? Who was the one that told the other one that they really despise them? Like, as long as you're not like coming out and like trashing the person in the goodbye messages, I think a lot of this stuff is really just goes by the wayside.
I would say that's probably true. I do think you can step in it though occasionally. Like when Tyler said to Scotty, go tell your friends about my special power that I had, and then Scotty in the end doesn't vote for him, even though it was a Skylar thing from Scotty's perspective for a large portion of that season, and he doesn't vote for him in the end. And you had Scotty on the show when I wasn't here, my dad, and he said that was one of the reasons why he didn't vote for him was because of that.
Did you want to be on the show that Scotty was on?
I think that it's fun because I feel like you guys are. You guys have a way of doing things, and you're a little softball about it, but you're professional. I can keep it professional and still hold people's feet to the fire, and I just feel like occasionally I'm left out of things. That's all. That's the real tea.
It's nothing, Brent. It's nothing.
It's not,
so you're saying that there was the guest was on a night that you weren't on?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. It would have been fun for me to be there. I will just say that.
Can we also talk about Cory's goodbye message?
That's what I was going to say.
Because that was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm really starting to feel like Cory is drawing dead at this point, because I think even if she somehow manages to get to the end, which I don't think is particularly likely at this point, and even if she does make it to the end, it's probably with Anthony, who I think she definitely would beat at this point, would lose to at this point. But this is just such a bad look to be so sure about something that you're very wrong about, and it just shows aggressive. Yes, and it shows everyone that you were very easily manipulated, and that's really hard to come back from. Like when we talk about Josh beating Paul, when we talk about other people who won over other people, there's some level of like, hey, I still had my dignity, I still left goodbye messages to get one over on Paul, I still did one thing or the other. But to just genuinely be somebody's puppet, it's like it's almost like if you give the win to Cory, you're giving the win to Anthony for controlling Cory. Like they would much rather give it to the person who puppeteered the other person than the person who is still shouting, no, I was right about that.
It's so terrible because she knows that she's not sure of this. Like Cory knows, maybe she's deluded herself into thinking that she's sure of this, but there's got to be parts of her that really question, okay, they keep saying this and they keep saying that when I watch the show, I'll see that they're telling the truth. And I'm okay with that. So that tells me that there's a part of her that's like, okay, maybe they are telling the truth, but I have to make a call here, and these are the people I'm going with. At least if that's true, then don't say that in your goodbye messages and act like you're all sure of it, because you're surely not.
Yes. What she should be saying is like, hey, look, I'm sorry if I got this wrong, but I had a read and I felt like this was the best move for my game, and even if it is the wrong move, I feel like at least I'm making a move that works with the game that I'm trying to play. Like, just give yourself some amount of outs here instead of just putting it all on something that Sam continues to deny.
He's like, I can see right through your lies. It's like, oh my God, you look so dumb right now.
Yep. Yeah.
Not good, Cory. Not good.
Not good. So yeah, it's not good for Cory. But I think one of the other interesting things, really main headlines from this episode, was again more confirmation in the diary room. Mark saying, I want to blow up the pretty boys. It is not enough for me to float to the end. I need to make a move. It needs to happen. A lot of people have been saying they think he's lying. They think he's, misleading the audience. I've kind of been somebody that says, I don't think he's lying. I think he really does want to do this. And we got even more of it tonight here, Rob. What are your thoughts on Mark?
I've been waiting to talk about Mark. I'm very, very excited to talk about Mark coming into tonight, because you the three of you guys you watch the live feeds, you have your finger on the pulse of what's going on, but here, as a filthy casual, as somebody who's watched the TV show, and that's where I'm really getting informed about these people outside of what I hear said on the podcast, that production's favorite this season is Mark. And that this is Big Brother Canada, and sometimes it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. But I really do believe that out of the people that are in the show, the person that I think that is the production pet is Mark. I think that they are treating him like a new Kevin Martin here, and I really think that a couple episodes ago, there was an episode last week where the entire previously on was about Mark came into the HOH and he had a plan and he was gonna blow up the pretty boys. But when I forget, was it Adam won the whoever was the
Adam won the double eviction.
But then Mark's plans were out the window. And it's really like we are seeing a lot of the show from the perspective of Mark. We're hearing a lot about what Mark is thinking about. Mark in the diary room, if Mark brushes his teeth, we're hearing about it. So I really do think that he is being set up as the person from the Pretty Boys who I think ends up being the most, like Adam sort of, he had the love story. So I think that he was sort of like a neutral party and all this. But I do think that of those four, I think that Mark gets the best edit on the TV show. And I think that he could be the person who is set up as like the star of the show to win this thing. Now, that being said, he does not seem to have the pawns to be able to pull off a move. That's the problem. So he seems to me like he is the person who is most likely to want to make a move, but is also the person of the four, maybe, tied with Adam, who is the least capable of being able to execute a move because he doesn't seem to have like a, close ally or two outside of the Pretty Boys.
Yeah, I mean, a move, even at this stage of the game, I feel like is still probably not the most well-advised thing to do for him. He doesn't have a lot of other options and a lot of other places to go if he wants to truly blow up the Pretty Boys. Now, if he wanted to potentially make a move and Matt Hoffman somebody and talk the other guys into shaving off some some extra weight, then maybe he could do that. But if he
do you mean by Matt Hoffman somebody?
I mean say hey guys, Adam, he's too good at competitions. He's too much of a liability.
Oh, because I feel like he's the most likely to be Matt Hoffman.
You think Mark is going to be Matt Hoffman?
Mark hasn't won anything. So I mean, from my perspective, if even if he was able to get power, or if he was able to get somebody else to do something about it, it's like if Esty won HOH, for instance, and he got her to possibly do something. I don't know. I mean, maybe I know that people say, oh well, he wouldn't have any pawns to be able to do anything, but do you really need pawns when you're HOH? I mean, you put up two people from the Pretty Boys, leave Anthony off the block, and he's not going to win shit. What?
If you did something like that, then, and if your only allies are the people in your alliance, and you're putting people in your alliance on the block.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a good move.
Yeah, I mean, sure. If you want to just ensure he comes back for an all-star season, okay, sure, that's the move. But I just don't see that if he did take a shot on his allies at some point, that other than like at the final five, I don't know how he gets any further because he seems like that he's an easy person to pick off then.
Yes, because where do you go from there? Like you're basically sacrificing yourself to shake up the house because after you do it, you have no allies left, and everyone's gonna reorganize and be like, well, he's even if we agree with what he did, even if we were inclined to be like, hey, thank you for doing what you did, Mark. Now you are a big threat, and you have no allies, so. You're a great person to target. And that's the people outside of the Pretty Boys, let alone what the Pretty Boys might want to do to him.
Melissa, I don't know if you caught this or not, but when they were giving Mark his confessional in the diary room, we heard the thing about, I want to target the Pretty Boys, and this is something that I've been thinking about for a while, and I don't want to get to the end and be boring. But he said, there was a little caveat in there where he said, at the right time. And I feel like that was production leaving him an out, where if he does go on to win an HOH in the next few weeks, and he does happen to come to power, and he doesn't target the Pretty Boys, that's his out. Like, well, I don't think it's the right time.
It's not the right time.
I don't know.
Maybe it's true.
I think maybe it's true too, but on the other hand, I don't know.
I think the only way he could do it is
even if he's able to win something, there's no guarantee you're going to win anything else. So if he does win an HOH, he might have to take the shot.
I think he could get Adam on board by being like, these guys were against Sam this whole time. They refused to listen.
He was against Sam too.
Yeah, but he can just say he's not. And then, he could be working on Damien because I know that they kind of have some sort of relationship. Like, and if he could get Adam and Damien, then they can make a move against Dane and Anthony. But I don't know. I mean, that's really the only thing I can think of is if he could get Adam on his side to be like, these guys were betraying you. They didn't want to be like, they wanted to get Sam out since day one. Like, we need to go against them. There's no way we can beat them, whatever.
Yeah, I just also want to say with Mark too. I wouldn't be surprised if we still have 8 people left in the house. There's got to be another twist or two. I wouldn't be surprised if Mark ends up with a power somewhere along the way as well.
That's a good point.
If the audience has anything to say about it, I feel like it'll be Damien if he's in the house at that point.
Is he still on the show?
Yeah, exactly. I know. Is he still on the show? The only time I heard his name called was when Arissa was asking all of those questions.
Yeah, yes. I was going to bring that up. I was like, what was that weird line of questioning?
Okay.
It was odd.
That was great.
This immediately took me back to Big Brother 10, Dan Giesling. I'd like to call this replacement nominee roulette. I'd like each of you to name who you think I should put up. She was like, okay, I want each of you to name who you think is the most underrated player, who you think is going to win.
And then she didn't even ask some people.
Yeah.
And you could tell people were like just trying to be strategic about it. Like they didn't want to say like anyone. They didn't say like any of the pretty boys. They were just like, I think Esty is. I think Damien is. It's like everyone who isn't a pretty boy was called out.
The only person who gave an honest answer was Adam, where he said, "I think Dane's gonna win," and Dane did not like that.
Yeah, so that was. I think that could be some collateral damage from this. Where I think that she asked Mark first, who do you think is gonna win? And Mark, I thought very smartly said, me. I'm gonna win, and then everybody copied him.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been interesting to see if she like went to Adam first, and then he said Dane. Like, I wonder if that could be part of the fracture about the Pretty Boys Adam versus Dane coming out of this week. And look, I don't know. Like, I see a lot of people say that they're down on the season, but as watching the TV show, I have to say, I am enjoying this because I feel like that this thing is like a powder keg. That I don't know when it's going to explode. I feel like that there is going to be a crack at some point.
I feel like it was intentional tonight that I think that they wanted these questions to ignite something. I think that they have been seeing people talk about how the Pretty Boys everything's the same, nothing's changing, and obviously I don't think that they intentionally manipulate the game. I talked to Kevin Martin about this the other day, and he was like, "Look, this is concrete proof that production does not interfere because they would have interfered." I think this is production's way of being like, "Hey, maybe if we ask some questions in front of everyone, maybe if we play a little bit of a Jeff Probst, maybe we can make some drama happen." And we did get Adam, saying Dane's name. I don't think it'll necessarily, do anything too dramatic here, but you never know. I think they're throwing things out there.
Just ask everybody. If you're gonna ask some people in the house, and maybe they cut some stuff for time. It's not necessarily a live show, but
also like, why did Sam throw Kira under the bus like that? Why didn't Sam, when she's like on her way out the door, be like Dane or Anthony or something like that? Instead she's like, oh, Kira, like, is the most underrated player, and then everyone's gonna be like, okay, we better watch out for her or for them. It's like that's like the worst.
I think it was one of those. I think it was one of those like things where she was like, This is a pity compliment, like in the same way that Dane, I think, did a pity compliment for Esty. And
yeah, but like, come on, these were moments that could have helped your game, and I know it's like on the spot, so you have to like really quickly think of it. But I mean, there could have been some interesting gameplay there, and instead it was just like, oh
no, there's not going to be any interesting gameplay on this season.
That's true. I'm thinking
of Survivor.
Yes, of course.
As the interesting gameplay this season.
Can we speculate at the risk of potentially offending some Sam and Adam outside of the house? Can we speculate on the future? Can we prognosticate? You don't think it's going to last?
I think it'll last a little bit.
Yeah, I think it will too. I think that, you know, they live close enough together, and they had so many like difficult moments in the house. They don't communicate like super well, but they are very good at coming back together after arguments, and like sort of resolving the issues. So I do think they've got a pretty good chance. Something else that I noted on Twitter is that a lot of people in the house are trying to disparage the relationship. Like, oh, Adam wanted Chelsea first, and then when he found out Chelsea had a boyfriend, he went after Sam. But we saw the clip in that montage, the Adam montage, where Adam was like, no, that's the Newfie girl. I'm into her. So there you go.
Well, look,
I'll say,
honestly, my prognosis or whatever, for my prediction for how long they're gonna last has definitely been altered within the past couple of seasons, because I used to always say, oh, it'll never last, but then we had Matt and Raven, Mark and Elena.
These have all
none
failed
of those
now.
people are together.
Yeah, they've all.
No, not anymore, but they were all together way longer after the season. I figured season's over, they're done. But they stayed together. So, you know, I think they could say, I'm not saying they're going to get married or anything, but I think that they would stay together.
I think that I will say that the shelf life is the Big Brother 21 finale.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Good over under. This summer.
I'll take the over on that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
There you go.
We'll see. Somebody write that down.
Yes. Make sure you keep track of all of these. Who's the best Showmance drafter?
Hey, you guys should have a
Showmance stock watch.
Stock watch. This relationship's an 8.
Yeah. He's a solid 7 out of 10 on this one. Oh, the audience says a 2. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, sorry, it's over.
You didn't sell Mark and Elena. Sorry, Brent. So you lost your $1.
Yeah.
$1.
So, I mean, to your point, Rob, about Mark, I do think we spent a lot of the episode focused on Mark. Really, you know, seeing SD campaign to Mark, that's something I talked about in the live feed update, but like, it was so not important to the overall storyline. But yeah, I think they intentionally put Mark in there because I think they like him in the diary room. I think that he gives them what they want, and he is able to narrate well. And he, you know, so they decided to put him in this quote unquote pivotal position of like, hey, maybe I'll flip my vote. Who knows? But we also saw a little bit of new Mark in this episode. Now, this is a new thing on the feeds. Mark has he's evolved. He went into his little cocoon, and he has now exploded from it as a butterfly. Not a butterfly of death, but an angry butterfly. And he is now calling himself New Mark. He's not going to take any S from anyone.
Like New Coke.
Yeah.
Yeah. We saw how well that worked out.
He's gonna go off on Adam about Sam and be like, hey, listen, I'll hear you out with an open mind, and with an open mind, I'm gonna vote Sam out. Boom.
Not quite an open mind, but you know.
Not really.
I was sad that they didn't include when Adam said, the reason Sam put you up is because she made a deal with Dane, and Mark went, deal schmeal. I don't care.
Listen, I was
So
at least glad,
eloquent.
given that it happened yesterday, I was glad that we got the Anthony fighting with Adam in a towel sequence, even though we didn't get Adam. What did I say? Anthony and Adam. Adam apologizing to Anthony at the end of it, like a complete idiot, and totally wussing out. That was disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, Brent, I know you hang out with Rob just as much as I hang out with Melissa. It's obvious.
Yeah.
What?
How you gonna sewer my game like that? Anyways,
You blow bubbles into each other's mouths. They left out that part.
Probably for
Ew.
that.
Yeah, that was a very funny conversation. I was surprised they put that in. That did just happen last night, and it was a very fun conversation.
You hang out with Cory. You take a shower with her.
What? Hey, when did I start hanging out with Cory? When
when we were gonna have problems with her.
Yeah, when I saw that we were gonna have problems with Cory, with the pretty boys were gonna have problems with Cory. But now, after I hung out with Cory, guess what? Cory, not a problem for the pretty boys anymore.
Where's the lie?
Where is it?
There is no lie there. I'm sorry. Oh God. Yeah. Anthony, I think it's all on the execution for him. Like, he's a little, again, rough around the edges, but I think he's usually on point with what he's trying to tell people. Not always, obviously, he can manipulate people too, but in this particular instance, he was being truthful with Adam.
Yeah, I have enjoyed that Anthony is finally on the episodes. We talked about this a little bit, but last night we had what I thought was a fantastic episode of the show where Anthony took the forefront as the sort of puppet master. He was in the diary room talking about manipulating Cory. Dane was in there with the plan. They actually put together a well-edited episode to showcase what the Pretty Boys did. And in terms of the show portraying moves on the TV show, I think Dane might be right when he says that's one of the most well-executed plans in Big Brother Canada history. In terms of the television show, it's almost definitely right, because usually those moves are left out of the Big Brother Canada show, but not this one, Rob.
Well, this, it's been a widely reported story that, this is an easier story to tell this season than some of the stories that we've told specifically last season. So, I do think that the TV shows have been compelling. So I'm enjoying watching it, and I understand if it's not as exciting on the feeds. But in terms of, getting it down to, 3 42-minute episodes, they're able to nail it down.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the episodes have been pretty good. And tonight's episode I also enjoyed. I think that I could see that they were kind of struggling for content, but I feel like they managed to get through. And it's because I feel like there's just the raw drama of Adam being in the Pretty Boys, but having to let go of Sam, but still fighting for Sam, and the drama there, and the Pretty Boys being mad at him. But by the way, the Pretty Boys being so I cannot believe that Adam wants Sam to stay in the game. He wants his girlfriend that he's in love with. He's so in love with her. Can you believe it, Brent? Can you believe how in love Sam is? It's like over the top infatuation. I can't believe, why would he want her to be here? I don't understand it, Brent.
It actually reminded me a lot of BB19, where the people start drinking their own Kool-Aid, and they actually.
What flavor was it?
Oh, right, thank you. What did she say? I'm
cherry.
trying to remember. Cherry. Oh my God, yes, cherry, which she never even made in the first place. Yeah, where they just they start believing their own lies, their own delusions. It starts to become reality. Even though that all of them to themselves would be yeah, obviously he's going to save his girl. I get that. But they're I can't believe he would go against the Pretty Boys. Can you believe that? Of course I can believe it. And by the way, you guys each have your side pieces as well. They just don't happen to be up for eviction right now. Frankly, Adam took this week a lot better than I would have taken this week if I was in his position.
Oh, me too.
I know that sort of goes without saying, but nevertheless, he's been shown to be really emotional in the house, and no offense to him, because he is sort of the most likable of the Pretty Boys, but really took this execution of his girlfriend lying down. He really didn't put up much of a fight whatsoever.
Brent, tell that to the boxes in the archive room.
Yeah. Well,
that's the best thing about that archive room, that people could really just throw the papers around and
I'm still waiting for that to come into play. Is that is that worth anything, Arissa? Well, what is that?
Well,
no, it's a room full of boxes.
There was a tape recorder in that room yesterday on the feeds.
Yeah.
No mention of it.
I
So.
see people that does nothing.
People in the chat are oh, well, maybe if you press pause on the tape recorder, you can pause the week. If you rewind, you can do the week over. And if you fast forward, you can do a double. You really think that production is going to hand control of the entire show to these freaking people?
Hey, they did on Big Brother 16.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure. There's only one way the button could go. This is like a multi-directional button. We could go forward or back in time, Doc Brown, for God's sake.
Don't go back in time.
Yeah.
It's a difference between giving, a monkey a button to push or giving him a typewriter.
Exactly. By the way, also should be noted that as of this, going into this coming eviction next Thursday, there'll be 8 people left in the house. Arissa did not announce a triple eviction, and this is always in the past where the triple eviction has taken place. So I don't think we're getting a triple eviction this year, folks.
Yeah, no triple and no double next week either. So likely that would be the week after.
Whoa.
Yep.
Which is interesting because they are playing for the triple. They are all still planning for it. And, you know, if there is any hesitancy from somebody like Mark to make a move, I do fear that it would be in the sense that they are all expecting the triple eviction to be next week. And so a lot of them, including a Dane, were saying, I don't even want to win this HOH because I can't be the outgoing HOH on the triple eviction. So, you know, Dane went into this HOH wanting to throw it. Who knows if that actually goes through? But people are very worried about this. And not only being the HOH, but making a huge move right before a triple eviction. This is bad news. And this is why I'm very glad that hopefully there is no triple eviction, because
I wish they would
want
tell them then.
Right.
I feel like that would change Mark's mind.
I did think about that, because I was like, why don't they just tell them? But then if they do want to do triple evictions in the future, then by not telling them, they're basically telling them that there is going to be a triple eviction.
I hope that they don't do a triple, and that way it like throws them off. And now next year we won't just have constant planning for the triple, because people will be like, we don't even know if a triple's coming, so let's just play.
Yeah.
At least that's what I'm hoping for.
Me too. I'm hoping that it was just get rid of these triples. It's not worth it.
Everyone hates the triple eviction anyway.
Not worth it.
It never has a good result.
Right, right, Brent?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So, all right. Anything else from the episode that we should talk about, Rob?
Could I ask about that? I have a feeling that the LFC might remember the details of Big Brother 12 better than I do. But in terms of when Kristen Bidding went out, and basically that it was the girlfriend of Hayden. Now, seems like a similar situation to what happened here. Was Hayden as upset about losing his girlfriend in the house as Adam appears to be? And how did the original brigade handle this situation?
Well, that was different because he was on the block next to her. So if she doesn't go home, it's going to be him. He had at least had the freedom to fight for himself, because, you know, you have to ultimately play for yourself at the end of the day. So if he had been off the block or had won the veto that week, it was week 4, by the way, when Rachel came to power a second time. Love her. But that was the Floaters Grab a Life Fest whole week. That's where that happened. Like from my perspective, Hayden took it about as well as Adam took it this time, where he didn't really love it. I didn't like the fact that they were being targeted, but again, he was more muffled, more muted because he was on the block. He couldn't outwardly be demonstrative. And then, you know, once she was gone, he was full steam ahead with the boys.
Yeah, and also it was different because it wasn't a plot by the brigade to get Kristen out in particular. It was Kristen had made a big target on her own back, and them together actually, because they were called out by Andrew for making out. And so Rachel was just genuinely gunning for Kristen. And so this was more to like the formula working as intended, where they put up Hayden and Kristen, and Kristen was the one to go.
And the rest of the brigade was just secretly happy about it, but they weren't like co-conspirators.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, it was a happy accident for them.
Yes. Who knows what would have happened if Kristen had never left? You never know. Moments in Big Brother history.
She almost won that HOH from Rachel. I remember that.
Yeah,
she did. She was like them two going back and forth for the longest time. I remember.
Yeah, she didn't have weed brain, like Sam does.
Yeah.
All right. So
is that a thing?
That's what Sam has been saying all week long. The reason why her stories don't match up is because she's got weed brain. She can't remember things, and so that's.
Would you rather have weed brain or taco armpits?
Oh God.
I guess taco armpits.
You know, I just want to say that I actually did not watch that episode because I was at work, and then I listened to the podcast, and then I heard that Taryn was going on about taco armpits and things like that, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch the episode. I'm like, that sounds terrible. That just sounds terrible.
That was your Melissa Cato Kalin massage moment. That was the line you would not cross.
Oh God,
like,
no, you don't remember.
Oh,
armpit,
yeah,
smelly.
Whatever it is.
I hate
taco.
Melissa and I are very united on that front. I anything bathroom humor, I'm not. I can't do. Yeah,
I'm with you there too. It's not my favorite.
Yeah.
I just remember Uncle Austin. in the trailer.
Yeah,
That's
more
so
bad news.
It's like truly
So
one of the
dumb.
lowest points
Like
in Big Brother
yeah, like
history.
catering to the
Lowest
lowest
points
common
ever.
denominator.
Yeah, I just want to say that I don't particularly find bathroom humor funny, but I do think that people talking about it on Big Brother is funny. So if it was like in real life, if somebody was telling me a joke about the bathroom, I don't think that's funny, but people talking about it on Big Brother is funny to me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, they talk about it a lot on the feeds. This bathroom stuff. They're really fond of talking about it. I don't understand.
Every
It's a bunch of
season,
boys in
too.
control. That's
I
the
guess
reason
so.
why.
Every season they talk about like, can they go to the bathroom? Are they having trouble? Do they need a laxative? Like literally, it's too much. There's like, oh, Sloth is doing
Need
his
Ricky Williams.
Ugh, it's too much.
I always get like uncomfortable when I'm talking to like a guy and he just starts talking about like his bathroom experiences and like expecting that I'm supposed to be okay with that because I'm also a guy. And I'm just like, no.
What do they say to you, Taryn?
Like, oh, I just ripped a good one. Or like, oh, it's about to be World War II in that bathroom. Like. I don't like it. Stop.
Is this what goes on at Podcast House?
Oh
No,
god.
luckily not the case.
Not with us,
I'm like
no.
the only straight guy in the whole thing. So
Basically true.
yeah, it's good. So yeah, I mean, look, just you don't have to, you're on the feeds. Anyway, I think that's about what we got for the episode. We do have some spoilers. We do have some spoilers to talk about.
Hold on, I want to talk about one of the most the biggest moments, one of my favorite moments from the last couple of weeks on the show that I haven't gotten to talk about.
Okay.
Oh, what is this?
So during Sam's HOH, she got to go to the storage room to get Wendy's and was served her Wendy's lunch from Rosina.
Yes.
Yes.
She opened the door and it was Rosina. I make a chicken for you. You should, if you let me stay in the house, I cook. I cook so much chicken.
Listen, Rob, for real, Rosina was actually the best, and I'm with you in terms of the hilarity of it all. But like, she was the best because she was basically like speaking in code to Sam the entire time. Like,
What was the code?
like,
Yeah,
girls,
girls,
we can do anything. Girls, stick
like,
together.
girls,
We can
together.
rule the world.
And then Sam's
How-
like, sorry. Not
Why?
happening.
How did Rosina make the cut for being a Wendy's person?
She lives in the area.
She was willing to try and get Sam to make an all girls alliance because she just kept saying, "I just like when women work together. That's the best thing I think of."
Yeah, like that's the thing is then Sam didn't take it. If all the people who were giving Wendy's could give advice like Rosina was trying to, it would be really great.
I don't know if this makes it better for you, Rob, but Sam was 100% expecting Erica to be the person that she saw in the Wendy's window.
I remember from the feed update. But it's like it's so funny, Rosina.
It's like expecting Erica, and it's like, oh.
I
Yes.
love that.
That's fine,
I love
Rosina.
that so much. They should. I want Rosina to like appear all the time. Like she should be like the Zingbot of Big Brother Canada. Like replace Marsha the Moose with Rosina.
Right.
Does
Taryn, you
Marsha the
thought of
Moose even
something.
exist anymore?
Apparently not. I mean, we never hear from her. We have to ask Trevor about that. I can actually ask him because I'm not blocked by him anymore, by the way.
Oh.
The thing with the Wendy's people, I would like it if it was a little bit like Hollywood Squares, where like they can give you advice, but you don't know if they're lying or not. Like,
Maybe they don't like you.
They could be telling you the truth, or they could be not. You sort of just. Who knows? You have to decide if they're telling you the truth or not. I would
That'd
probably
be pretty
like
good.
that than this whatever they're doing right now. But then I
I'd
think
like that.
Wendy's would probably not like it if somebody was lying and representing their brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Girl, listen to me. Make this girls alliance. Get your wheat brain out of here.
That's the
Right
problem.
now.
Sam, she took in the message, but she forgot about it.
She forgets.
Because
Yeah.
there's
Sweet
a
brain.
side order to the Wendy's. So, any other thoughts that you've had about the season? I mean, it's been a little while since we've checked in with you, Rob.
Marcus production pet, Rosina at Wendy's, taco armpits. Those were most of my notes. If anything else
Great notes.
occurs to me.
By the way, Taryn, I would just say that I listened to your interview with Kevin Martin, by the way, very good. But I do think like it's the biggest indictment of the season that Kevin's like the best moment of the season was, I think, the first episode when Eddie calls Adam ugly in the diary room. I'm like, that's the best.
Remember Eddie?
Season?
Oh, Eddie.
Yeah.
Oh, Eddie.
Yeah, I think he got brought up for All Stars. I was like, no.
Ouch.
Sorry, Eddie. It ain't gonna happen, girl.
It's not even in the Wendy's queue.
How do you feel about Dane, Rob? Dane's been he's been winning
I
competitions.
don't care for Dane.
Don't care for Dane.
My least favorite person on the show. He's such a bad sport. He's always complaining about everything. Yeah, everything that doesn't go his way. He's just like, I can't believe that this is happening. This is so unfair. Oh, I can't everything go my way in this house. I hate Sam so much.
Oh my god.
I only have
Perfect
FD.
impression.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So something I've noticed about how Dane speaks is that he always I don't know the name for it. His inflection goes up at the end of like every statement. Like I just didn't do it. And I don't know about you, but the way that I think about it is that I did not bring up your name for the back door. That did not happen from me. It was all Sam. It's
That's very Dane. Yeah. I never noticed that.
I think there's a name for that. I just don't know what it is.
I know. There's something.
It's not vocal fry. It's the someone in the chat will know.
Yeah. What about Anthony? Any thoughts about Anthony?
I enjoy Anthony. He's kind of like you mentioned him as the villain. He is like a Bond villain. So I enjoy having him on the show. I think he's
High Rising Terminal.
High Rising Terminal.
That's what it is.
He's fine. So I enjoy Anthony. It'll be fun to see him. An Anthony win. I don't know if that's going to be necessarily fun, but.
I'll say this, based on these first two questions of the HOH competition, I don't have much faith in Andy's ability to get
Hold on.
to the
Day
end.
one, I come into the house looking fly. I think he got caught there.
Yeah.
Anthony's gonna have some trouble with these mental competitions, unfortunately. Everyone knows I have a terrible memory. I have a terrible memory.
This is like hardcore memory. This is like, what day did this happen on?
Yeah.
And you got to put together the days and get it up on the thing before they call. And the thing about Big Brother Canada is that it's taped, so they give you a ton of time. I mean, I've been to a taping of the show. They give you a shit ton of time. So the fact that Anthony actually ran out of time before Arissa said time, he's really having problems.
Yes. All right. Speaking of the HOH competition, we do know the outcome, so we're going to get to spoilers here. If you want to bounce out, now is your opportunity. I will, of course, be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens tonight on the Big Brother Canada 7 live feeds, and then Sunday night we will be back to recap the nomination episode of Big Brother Canada 7, and then Monday night we will have the roundtable. All of the great stuff heading your way. Make sure you tune in. There's also some great Survivor content happening, some great Survivor coverage happening. Rob, tell us about the Survivor stuff.
Really exciting episode of Survivor. In case you haven't seen it this week, and we have the know-it-alls from last night. I talked to T-Bird Cooper today. Had a lot of fun catching up with T-Bird. Eric Stein. We're got some Spring of Stein this weekend on the Feedback Show. And then, of course, we've got the B&B, Why Blank Lost as well. This week in Survivor, The Wiggle Room. So just a million Survivor podcasts coming up in the next couple days.
All right, good to hear. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Armstrong Taryn. Rob is at Rob Sesternino. Brent is at One Lucky Gay. Melissa is at It's Melissa with 3 A's. 3 of them. And thanks for joining us if you're bouncing out now. But if not, we got a spoiler song, hopefully. There it is.
The Office of Civil Defense has issued the following message. This is
A spoiler.
warning.
A spoiler.
Warning means that an actual
Spoiler.
against this country has been detected and that protective action should be taken.
All right.
All right, I blew it earlier, obviously. I don't know if you guys caught that. Did anybody catch that when I blew it?
You were just giving out hypotheticals.
I was
Hypothetical.
yeah, exactly. Mark is the HOH, and that's why we were talking about Mark. We kept talking about Mark, and eventually, I was okay in the beginning, and then eventually along the way, it just spilled out at some point. So
Yes.
I am very intrigued to see if this goes through or not. If he actually does tank his own game and go after the pretty boys, I'm sort of of two minds about it, Taryn, because I'm like, on one hand, I really want him to do it. On the other hand, it's a really terrible move. But like on the other hand, he's been saying he's going to do it for so long that if he doesn't do it, it's going to be a real letdown. And the other thing too is that just by the nature of this competition, it looks like he's blowing them away right now, or at least he got the first two questions right. Obviously, he wins it. This is a really tough competition to win. I don't think he's going to be able to hide anymore, saying, "Oh, I really can't."
Hey, he's got a bad shoulder.
Yeah, good luck with that. I mean, I feel like that after he wins this, they're going to be like, I don't think they're going to be thinking he was faking the entire time, but they'll be like, he's smarter than we thought. To be able to win that, because it's not like A or B where you get to pick an answer or buzz in. You have to literally come up with the answer yourself and get it up on the screen.
I thought it was interesting that, like, I had just listened to the one with Kevin this morning, Terrence's podcast with Kevin, and Kevin was saying that he doesn't think that his rap is a good idea because
right again, Kevin.
And then this whole thing, he was so good, and because I was thinking, I agreed with Kevin. I was like, yeah, I mean, the rap is like cool and clever and all, but like, when you're in the moment and you need to quickly remember a number, and you're going to have to go through this whole rap where he has like little like sidebar elements where it's like, and don't be a loser and you're going to do this. And it's like, literally like you'd have to like sing this whole song in your head. Just
Melissa, could you explain what you're talking about here?
Mark has this rap, this memorized rap, poem, spoken word, song, or whatever, where he memorized the days. And so, but it's not just like, it's not like the 50 states song or something where you literally just list out the 50 states in a row. It's like he has like rhyming things where it's like, and then Dane was lame and he went to one HOH in the name. And like he literally like makes up these like things where it doesn't, I feel like you have to go through a lot of nothing to get the right answer. And so in the moment, you'd think that he'd have to like run through all the lyrics of his song to get to the number. And it apparently worked.
I will say, like I said, I've been to a taping, and as I recall, they give you a ton of time to answer these questions. They edit a lot of time out. I remember that Dimitri and Karen and I can't remember who's competing, Ika, during the HOH competition that we saw, it felt like they had like at least 20 seconds to look at stuff.
Yeah,
and
in this episode we saw they had a long time to answer. They were really going, and you could also see that Mark would he put the wrong number first a couple, like I think
twice.
2 of the times.
Yeah,
and I think we only saw 2 of them. So I think he was like going through and then like would put a number down and he'd keep going through the rap, and then he'd be like, oh no, it's this one. And so I do think that that it's probably not the most efficient way, but maybe he has markers throughout the rap of like, I can just start and say markers. I can just start with like day 37 or Kiki's name, and anytime Kiki's in the rap, I can start with Kiki's name and go from there. Who knows if that's actually the case, but it certainly seems to work out for him here. And the fact that he not only won, but seemed to have won by a decent margin is definitely not the best thing. I mean, I do think it speaks well for his chances if he does still get down to the final 4 or whatever. But I think that is going to be very visible in the house. I think he is going to be a big target. People are going to start to look at him and be like, I don't want this guy in the end. He's going to win every single mental competition. Don't you think?
By the way, Stacked is saying that people at the taping said that Mark got every question correct. So given that some people probably didn't get any questions correct, Anthony, I'm looking at you. That's not good. Not good, Bob.
Yeah. So, I mean, combine that with the fact that he might take a shot at one of the pretty boys this week. And, we could see Mark completely blow up his game. Now, he's basically told us in this episode that that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to just float to the end, even though I think that's probably his best move in terms of like win equity, is to just float your way down and then win the comps out and then hope that Anthony has pissed off the jury or whatever. And that your competition wins are enough to be like, hey, look, I got myself here, so on and so forth. I think that's a great path to the end, but Mark doesn't like it. And I like that Mark doesn't like it. I like that he wants to make a bigger name for himself. And I think we might see him take a shot here. Now, what I also think is interesting is that for a long time he was talking about Dane. He was talking about Dane, this guy, I'm going to get him. And since then, he's distanced from Adam. He used to be on Adam's side about Sam, then Sam put him up. And he was very angry with Sam and Adam for not protecting him. He's gotten closer with Anthony. He's gotten closer with Dane. Mark had a conversation with Kira just the other day where they talked about how they're both easy pawns. They're on the outside. They're disposable. And Mark knows who the real people he needs to go after are. And in that conversation, he said to Kira that they should be working with Anthony, that he's a good person to work with because he can bring them in as numbers. And that even though Dane is an enemy and he's very good at the game, Dane wants them there in the final 5 because they're weak. So maybe that's worth keeping around. The person left out of that is Adam. So, Rob, I think Adam, I think there's going to be a shot here taken.
Yeah, I mean, Adam does not seem like that he has any other pawns. I don't really know what that buys so much for Mark other than he moves up one spot in the Pretty Boys pecking order, or sort of like ensures that he does not fall lower than 3rd on the Pretty Boys pecking order. So if Anthony and Dane are on board to do that, that does seem like that's a move that could make everybody happy potentially, because the people who, have sort of been like pushed around by the Pretty Boys, they all get to stay. And then also Dane and Anthony, if they're on board, they could, pretend like, oh, Mark's a loose cannon, but then really secretly be happy that Adam's out of the picture. And Adam wasn't really a team player anyway. So I could definitely see there being upside. The other thing I was thinking about for Mark was that could he, if he really did want to take down the Pretty Boys and really turn the Pretty Boys against each other, could he take some of the favorite pawns of the Pretty Boys and say potentially put like Cory and Esty on the block, and then have sort of a proxy war where would Dane fight Anthony over who ultimately gets to stay, and could that break up the Pretty Boys by keeping them all safe?
At this point, I don't think it would. I think that they recognize the value in what they have. And so like the fact that, even Adam was willing to be like, you know what, there's nothing I can do. He fought for Sam, but when he didn't win, he came back with his tail between his legs because there's nowhere else for them to go. And I feel like that's the case with Anthony and with Dane, even though they're probably more sore losers than Adam is. I think that I do think that they would stick together and be like, okay, I've lost my person. That's fine. We're still good though. It'll be
somebody
Cory
would have
next
to
time.
cave.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think part of that though is that it's more about who can get the votes. And whoever wins, gets it. It's not like they're deciding amongst themselves. They'll probably just be like, hey, whoever can influence the most amount of people to vote to keep their person, good on you. You've done it. And so I feel like that's probably why that wouldn't throw enough of a wrench into their plans. But we really don't even know necessarily what Mark's true motivations are. Does he just want to snipe one person out? Does he want to convince Anthony and Dane to get on board with taking Adam out of the game and to pull the Matt Hoffman on him and then get down to the final 3 with them and feel more comfortable there? I think that's definitely the wrong person to snipe off if that's the case. Or does he truly want to blow up the Pretty Boys completely, expose them and just shake up the entire game? I don't really quite know yet.
I don't think there's any half measure with this. If he puts Adam up on the block, even with a pawn, Adam's going to be pissed about that. If Adam at all thinks he's going to go home, I don't think he's going to go the way of Chelsea and just, lay down and die and not expose anything, I think he probably would expose them in order to find a way to stay and fight back against them. I mean, he is a threat to win many of these competitions, so that would seem to be an avenue where he could campaign to people like, hey, I'll fight for you if you keep me in the house. So I don't think that Mark can do it halfway. If he wants a pretty boy out, even if it's Adam, he has to put 2 of them up.
Could they backdoor him?
I don't think like that'll work. I mean, there's still 5 days until the eviction once you name the replacement nominee. So, Sharon, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Adam wouldn't blow it up, but I feel like he would, especially when there's other nominees to choose from. Why would Mark name Adam as a replacement nominee when there's Cory and Estee and Kira and Damien that are possibilities to be put up for eviction? There's no reason for it unless you're trying to take a shot at him.
If he puts him up as an original nominee, could he sort of say like, hey, people are catching on to Pretty Boys. We need to throw them off the scent. So because Sam put me up on the block, then I'll put you up on the block, and then nobody will know that we're really working together. But don't worry, you're the pawn. You're definitely not going home. You're the pawn. You're the pawn. You're the pawn all week.
Yeah, but that doesn't work though, because I mean, like at least when Dane was up on the block, he had Estee with the boys behind him voting. So Dane was like confident, okay, that combined with the HOH's tie-breaking ability means I will stay. But in this case, Adam going up on the block, first of all, Sam's gone, so he doesn't have that vote anymore. Even if
there's
he just
5 votes, right?
Right.
Even
if he just has the boys, that's 2 votes. I think he should feel really nervous that Damien or the other 3 people would all vote him out.
Anthony controls Cory's vote, right?
Rob, I need a bell because you are 100% correct based on what I'm reading on the feeds. Mark has said exactly to Dane that he wants to put Adam on the block because he's worried that it will be too obvious if he doesn't put Adam on the block. And his reasoning is he thinks that the 2 pretty boys plus Anthony controls Cory's vote means Adam is definitely safe. Now the problem is, and Dane says, I'm on board. I'm good. I like this plan. They now need to go talk to Anthony about it and convince Anthony that it's the right move. And then, of course, they need to convince Adam. But this is exactly what Mark seems to want to attempt here.
And then actually vote out Adam on Thursday.
So right now, Dane is agreeing to Adam as a pawn. He is not saying he wants Adam out. But obviously, if Mark wants to take a shot here, and I don't see why he'd be pressing Adam onto the block if he didn't want to take a shot, then I think that he will try to find a way to either convince the pretty boys once Adam is up there. Like say Adam wins the veto, then he's probably like, all right, it's not the right time. I don't want to do this before the triple anyway. But if Adam doesn't win the veto and Adam remains on the block and he's up against Estee, which I think is the person that he will be up against with, then I think that he is going to hope that his argument can be, thinking about it, it's Adam up there. He's won 4 out of the 8 competitions he's played in. And Estee, who's won nothing. Maybe we should just take this opportunity to, at the last second, just flip the votes on Adam and send him out the door. And then we've all got one step closer to the final 2. That might be his plan here.
He could sell it to the pretty boys. He's good at, he's good at competitions. He's blocking us. He looks at it as like a resume point of that, and if he gets to the final 2, he could say, hey, I was the person who took down the alliance, like the first person in the alliance. And then we got Dane out, and that he like opened the floodgates that the pretty boys were running the house. And he's the person that ultimately is responsible for the direction of the season.
Yes. I'm seeing that Damien might also be the option to put up next to Adam. I know Mark has talked about either Estee or Damien. I'm not sure which one is the plan right now. I know he talked about if the veto is won by Adam, that it would end up being Estee and Damien would end up being the target as of right now. And this is Anthony's work from the previous week, really planting the target onto Damien. It is the right call, I think, for a lot of them in the Pretty Boys to target Damien. So this could be Damien's last week, Rob.
These are all
man, what will production do without Damien?
Who will win the votes?
To lose a talent like that.
This is all said in front of Dane, right?
Yes.
So there's a possibility that he puts Adam on the block and Estee and then backdoors Dane And this
That's
is
what
all
I thought.
because it could be that all of this that we're like, oh, maybe he's doing this, he's doing that. Oh, poor Damien, like you better watch out. But maybe all of this is just a ruse because Dane is right there. And like we haven't heard him say anything with Dane not in the room. So
It's true.
Who knows?
I mean, that's the version where he in the veto ceremony when who wins it on and uses it on Esty though? That's the problem.
Yeah. It's so weird with this HOH not playing.
Yeah. Without Mark
really
playing
hate
in
that,
the
by the
veto,
way.
yeah, it would have to be Anthony winning using it on Esty or Damien. It would have to, or I guess if you put up Damien and Damien could win it himself potentially, then he could take himself off. Then in the veto ceremony, Mark says, "Well, there's actually been a secret alliance this whole time, and I'm about to blow it wide open. Dane, sit down." That'd be a pretty great moment.
Fan fiction. I love it though.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he's going to do. I think that he's going to try to just slide Adam out of the house. I think that's the safer play. But again, I feel like Adam as the target is not really the best one. I think Adam is the one that you can do with the least amount of blood on your hands. I think he's the easiest person to convince the pretty boys to get rid of. But in many ways, that's why he's not the best pretty boy to get rid of, because Anthony and Dane
have a side person.
Anthony and Dane have a very tight final two. They've been working together for a very long time, and I think that Dane's work on Mark has been instrumental in helping shift the target from himself to Adam, because Dane has been talking to Mark a lot about how Anthony is too dangerous to take to the final two. And so I'm sure that Mark is sitting there thinking, Dane's talking about how Anthony's too dangerous to take to the final two. Dane's not going to take Anthony. He's been working on his bond with Anthony. He thinks that he's got a good in with Anthony. Anthony will take me. Dane will take me. I don't know what Adam will do. He's too good at competitions. I can probably win against Anthony and against Dane. So
he's the most likable jury threat as well. So
Yes.
I actually don't think that this is necessarily a bad move to get Adam out of the house. I mean, he's the most expendable pretty boy, and he's the biggest jury threat amongst the four of them. He may not realize
sell
that.
him on going to the jury house with Sam. I feel bad for whoever comes
Especially
in after.
It should also be noted that this is only a 7-person jury, not 9 and 10 like we've had in previous seasons or in the United States. Sam makes up 1/7 of that jury. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but like usually on a 7-person jury, it's a close vote. It doesn't take many votes to swing a result. I wouldn't want to have Adam in the final two and be him having a guaranteed vote in jury.
it's very Mark of you to say.
Yeah.
He's basically got $14,000 already locked up. Each vote is worth $14,000, says Mark.
Oh my God, yes.
So there you go. But yeah, I think ultimately though the problem is that I think that Anthony and Dane are a lot closer than Mark realizes. And if he does make a move like this, he does win this competition, he does start to win more competitions down the line, I think that will only further push Dane into wanting to take Anthony, who hasn't won as many competitions, and Anthony into wanting to take Dane over Mark. Although Anthony has not confirmed to the cameras in the same way that Dane has confirmed to the cameras that he wants to take Dane. So I don't necessarily know exactly what Anthony's plans are, but he hasn't promised Mark a final two in the same way that he has with Dane, and he has brought it up with Dane a few more times in the past. So it does seem like they are loyal to each other, and Dane might have just put himself in a spot where he does need to win.
Yeah, I agree with Kevin Martin. I can't believe I just said that. But yeah, once the money becomes a lot more real, I don't think that they will take each other. I think they'll realize what threats each one of them represents, and they'll take Kyra to the end of the game,
Kyra,
as
yes.
Kevin would say.
Yeah, I really do. I think that we're going to get a finish that's going to be at least be interesting. And I understand that not everybody loves the pretty boys, and I certainly don't feel like, oh my God, I am a pretty boy stan by any stretch of the imagination. But when we're taking a look at them compared to the other 4 people that are left in the house, like, what's the alternative here? I was struggling to come up with who all 8 people in the house are besides the pretty boys. And I said, okay, all right, I know. All right, Esty and Cory, and then I remembered here, and last was Damien. And I mean, who from that group of 4 is going to be the standout? And like that group of 4 isn't coming together, right?
No. They're not.
No, they're not coming together.
And so, unlike in Big Brother 20, where we kept waiting for, the level 6 civil war, here it comes. I kind of think we're going to get a pretty boy breakup here.
Yeah, and I think maybe another part of this is that Mark has been working on Kira, and I feel like Kira's not going to be happy with this move, but if he does remove Adam from the equation, that's really the only other person Kira has been super close with. They are close with Anthony, but they've also been very skeptical of Anthony in the past, and so I think that he's hoping that that maybe he can pick Kira up and use them as another weapon against the other pretty boys. Say Kira wins in HOH, then after Adam is gone, maybe then Mark says, you know what? Adam and Dane and Anthony have been working together this whole time, and they are the biggest threat to win this game. We need to take one of them out. And I really do think that Mark...
Then you could have a week where those two guys end up on the block.
Yes. I really do think that Mark is hoping to get to the end with Kira. And I think that he thinks that if he takes out one of the pretty boys this week without upsetting too much, then he can get to the final 4 with Kira. And if he has a good enough relationship with them that Kira will take him, he can take Kira. And worst case scenario, Dane wins. And Dane has been talking about how he can't take Anthony, so he might be in a good spot. So I can see some logic if this is his plan, but I do think that there's unfortunately a little bit of a misread in terms of Anthony and Dane and how close they are.
Yes, I agree. By the way, also people at the taping are telling us that Arissa taped a commercial that says to Canada that we are going to find out the secret of the archive room this coming week, or on Thursday or Wednesday. I'm not sure.
Archive room or Marchive room?
Possibly both. I have no idea what this could mean. I really hope that it's not something that's going to screw with anything that Mark's wanting to do, but I don't know.
See, this is exactly what I talked about with these twists, where if we finally get the week where Mark cracks open the pretty boys and then a twist ruins it, we're going to be so mad. We're gonna be so mad. But we did get that tape recorder in the archive room, so I imagine it has something to do with that. Hopefully, this is like the tomb from Big Brother Canada 6, and it's like, oh, it's Marsha, it's time for a task. That'd be great.
It's Rosina.
Yeah.
She's back.
Mark, I make you chicken for you. Also, the blood veto. Why did they make it only for 1 week? It's like they talked about it, they hyped it up. Oh my God, the blood veto, the biggest twist we've ever done. Here is like, I have the most powerful thing that's ever been created in the history of Big Brother Canada. 1 night only.
One night
only.
I do think the problem with having more than 1 week is that Kira then gets to control 2 weeks of votes, because Kira can tell all of the voters, hey, you can either vote this way or I'll change it. And if I have to change it, then you're not gonna like it.
But they didn't do that the first time around.
Well, they weren't allowed to talk about it, to be fair. So that's a good point. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But
so it's like you know, it wouldn't have mattered this week either. But you know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they were wishing that it had lasted 1 more week, because they would have kept Sam.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay. So then it would have, and then that would have been better, right?
I think Sam still goes home.
Because not if Kira uses the blood veto, right?
Yeah, but Rob, again,
like on the block, Esty goes home then.
Yeah, Esty goes home. Isn't that better for the show?
To me, they're the same at this point. Like Sam had a chance to do something about.
Sam at least has taco armpits. What does Esty have?
But Rob, you're trading in a Sam eviction instead of an Esty eviction instead of a Sam eviction for the risk of, what if a pretty boy gets this power and then that guy has it for 2 weeks, and that's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But they didn't. We didn't know that it was only for 1 week. They could have said it's for 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
No, of course not. They don't want to. They don't want to tell us that it's gonna flop. I mean, like if they told us that.
But they didn't say. Like, it wasn't like it was announced. Like whoever gets this will get the blood veto, and we'll have 1 week to use it. Like
they didn't tell us anything actually at the beginning, and then we found out along the way. But no, they wanted to make it to be the best thing since sliced bread, Rob. And if they had told us this only lasts 1 week, then I would have known instantly. Okay, there's only a set amount of things that can happen, and of course, none of those things happen. But at least I would have known, okay, I know that, Anthony can't go home. I know that Adam can't go home. Things like this. Dane possibly, but then he ended up winning the veto, so whatever.
There you go. Well, is there anything else we should
Adam won the veto. Sorry.
so we should talk about before we wrap this up, Rob?
Nothing that I can think of. But look, it's you gotta find the good here.
I'm with you. I'm very glad that you're with me, actually, because I've been feeling very lonely in my enjoyment of this season.
I know. I understand people don't like the pretty boys, but I do think that there's going to be some intrigue in terms of like I don't think that they're on the same page, and I think that it's going to be fun to see what direction this goes. I'd be very surprised if there was 3 of them in the final 4.
I would not be surprised.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either, but I'd still enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, and you're right because they are the only compelling people left. I mean, once Sam was gone, I mean, like, Kevin Martin was so right when he called Damien wallpaper. I mean, or a wall. I think he called him a wall. I said wallpaper.
Ooh, that's cutting from.
Yeah,
Kevin
it's
Martin.
the truth though. I mean, he's a sweet guy.
Nice guy.
Nice guy,
Seems like the nicest guy
Salt
ever.
of the earth guy.
Don't know how he got cast on TV.
I don't either. Oh my god.
Not doing it.
Don't know.
I'd be very sad if Damien left this week.
You would be sad?
I'd be
You
sad.
bought him. You bought him. You bought him.
Okay. It's not like I've
I'd
liked
be
Damien
sad. I have
since
a
day
bunch of
one.
Damien stuff
Yeah.
Last week.
Yeah. I mean, Kira, I feel like that, with all due respect, has not been great television. The thing with Chelsea was at least okay. That was something, but
That was uncomfortable, is what it was.
We'll take what we can get here.
Sorry.
We'll take what we can get.
Take what we can get.
And Cory is with all due respect to the great Cory, is kind of a 0 also. And who else? Who's the other? Oh, Esty, another. You know, I liked when her and Kiki had a slumber party and talked about who are the cute boys in the house. But other than that, she's got bringing nothing to the table.
God, there were so many zeros this season, Taryn. Oh my god.
Like, literally, I would say
Usually-
like 75% of the cast is zeros.
We talk about Big Brother Canada casting. Remember, like people used to be like, "Hey, Robin Cass, why don't you take a look at what they're doing on Big Brother Canada so you can see how a season of Big Brother is supposed to be cast? You idiot!"
Like, yeah, I cast both.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Well, like although
I think they tried to simplify it.
I guess. Also, that I think that's true. I also feel like they got unlucky with like the run of people that were evicted in the first 5 weeks. With not that Mackie's a big personality, but Laura. So I thought Laura was definitely going to be a big personality. Kaylin was going to be. Chelsea was
Laura
gonna be,
wouldn't even twerk.
Yeah, but I feel like any of those people weren't going to be like great players. I don't know. I just feel like it's like I was fine when all those people left. I was like, yeah, whatever. But then they left and they left nothing. Like there was nothing left. Like I just feel like there was nothing to start out with. And there weren't any good players even to start with.
The risk you run of only having 4 or 5 actual players in the house is that if they happen to align together,
yeah,
that's the season.
Yeah, totally. Because those really are the only people who are playing or who even seem to care about the game. So
yeah,
I just want everyone else to go, and we'll just keep the pretty boys, and we'll see them duke it out to the final 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Put Rosina in the house. That's the big twist. When she comes in, she's seen all the episodes. Rosina comes in the house at Final 9. What happens, Brent?
Here? Oh,
Does she win?
No.
What if we just do what they did in Big Brother Canada 1 when Dan came in for a night, and we have Rosina come in for a night to give them advice and change the outcome of the season.
Yes.
I mean, why not? They've done it before. So. Hell. You playing for yourself?
Go
you playing for
Go
the
look
team.
at the chessboard, Mark. I leave something in there for you.
It's chicken.
It's a chicken. Must be.
You're not really gonna be loyal to these pretty boys, are you?
Can we do a pick for who's the Wendy's person this week?
Ooh. Oh man.
Have they done Karen yet? Did they do Karen?
She
They
did a
Karen
commercial
with
with Kevin.
Yeah, with Kevin.
Oh, okay.
She went to Wendy's as a customer.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I
It's
do
probably
feel
somebody from 5.
I do feel like they're gonna get Erica in there eventually.
Yeah, that's
Right
possible
after
as well.
Sam.
I'm going popping Paul Jackson.
Oh, they have to.
Pop and Paul.
Look.
He'll give the bag. He'll like do his spin around in a circle.
All right, here's
Do
the
his dance
advice.
moves.
You have to
You're
be the
villain.
bad guy.
It's like, I'm not giving you your smoothie. I'm sorry. I have to be the bad guy.
Okay, I think
This is what they
It's
want.
orange juice also.
This is what they want.
Hey, wait a
Isn't
minute.
that
This wasn't
mustard
my
with water?
order. Camera pan to Paul.
I love it.
Cassandra was in the audience, by the way. I saw her talking to Ika, so it could be Cassandra.
Okay.
Could be.
There you go. All right. This has been fun, but we have to wrap this up. I will be back again tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens tonight on the Big Brother Canada 7 feeds. We're gonna see what the plan is from Mark, at least what his public-facing plan will be, and then hopefully we get a little bit of camera talk. He's been much more shy since he saw the TVs in the lounge, but he has started to open up a little bit more lately. So maybe he'll give us what his real plan is, if it is in fact different than the public-facing plan, and I will hopefully be able to update you on that tomorrow morning. And then of course Sunday night we'll be back to recap the next episode of Big Brother Canada 7. So lots of great stuff heading your way about all this Big Brother greatness. And again, check out the Survivor stuff, because there was a really good episode last night, and it's been fun. It's been fun. Survivor, they do casting right. They know how to do it.
God, yes, they do.
Yeah.
Like, there's literally no zeros. in
Survivor
the
got rid of their
entire
casting director.
I
After
know.
Yeah, I'm really nervous. So who's doing it now? Do we know?
we
don't know?
I don't think that the name would ring a bell, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
somebody
Well, that
knows.
makes me
Fair,
nervous.
It's a lot easier to get better people on Survivor because it's only 39 days,
Mm.
whereas Big Brother is like 90 days, and no normal like person can take that time off. So
Yeah, and you get like live feeds of you going to the bathroom or
Yep.
like shaving or whatever.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I would do Survivor way before I did Big Brother.
yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I couldn't do Survivor. I'd do Big Brother. Survivor's too hard. Too challenges, not eating, sleeping outside. No.
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 All right, you can find us on Twitter. I'm at Armstrong Taryn, Rob is at Rob Sesternino, Brent is at One Lucky Gay, and Melissa is at It's Melissa with three A's, three of them. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I'll see you next time.